So med spa consultations can go many ways, but only one way is guaranteed to maximize the revenue and profit in an ethical way. So you have your lazy bad way, you have your ethical right way, and then you have the unethical one, which coincidentally is the one that actually maximizes revenue and cash collected, which is not necessarily a good thing because profit is sanity and revenue is vanity. And so this is actually the way to potentially never get any objections again, or very minimal objections. I want to stress this upon you because the difference between the profits, the revenue and cash collected is very asymmetric. It's really wild. So you have on the left-hand side the lazy bad way, which can come out of just ignorance, not knowing how to upsell the correct way, how to consult the right way. Then you have your strategic ethical way, and then you have your aggressive way. So on the top left, you have your number of clients, which by the way, in all these three cases, we're going to take 100 for ease of calculation. So for 100 consultations, this is how big the difference in conversion rate can be. With the lazy way, you can just convert about 10-15%, if that. Then with the strategic, we're looking at 60%. With the aggressive, we could be looking at 35%, or in some cases, probably even more than that. But this is where things get even more disproportional. So on this side, you have your transaction value, the average cash collected, $400, which is not even an upsell. This is something we would call an order bump. Then here we have 2,500, which is a strategic ethical way. Think Sculptra and Radius out of a Botox intro, or think a body contouring package or a laser hair removal full package. Okay. And then of course you have the aggressive way, which does maximize revenue. A lot of ways can ensure that you can pull that off, like for example pre-vetting and pre-applying for financing to determine how qualified the lead is to really pitch the highest price possible. And then you have your revenue, and then you'll see that the revenue over 12 months drops pretty dramatically in the aggressive way because it backfires. You end up with a bunch of negative reviews, you end up with a bunch of unhappy people that charge back, you get buyer's remorse. The worst one is of course the lazy bad way, because you're basically equating your cash collected with your lifetime value of that client. Essentially, these guys are not coming back. They're not booked, they have no follow through. Whereas the strategical one reigns supreme. You have 150K collected on that initial visit, and across, of course, 100 patients. And then over a 12 months period, that basically doubles. And then finally, you have your average client lifetime value, which essentially is 10 times higher than that initial transaction value for your highest ticket clients. And so obviously you can see why the strategic one wins. The difference is very stark. The difference is very stark, and it's worth paying attention to these things, even if you miss it by a landslide, even if it's nowhere near what you're seeing in these charts, you can still achieve a lot of results just by asking. And so with that being said, in the first part of this video, I want to focus on the sections of the consultation that you should be paying attention to, and share my observations from consulting and diagnosing a ton of approaches from our partners, listening on pre-recorded conversations for educational and training purposes, and basically figuring out why they're just not upselling. A good benchmark for upselling should be 40-50% on average, ecstatic if they close at 70-80%, and we have few exceptions that occasionally can close at 100%, provided the leads are qualified. So let's dive into the opening and report. This is the first 2-3 minutes, and despite what you might think, it doesn't mean just chatting and small talking for the sake of it. You can generally create a report with finding out the problems that brought them into the clinic in the first place. The bad way is to just jump straight into it and to relinquish the lead onto the client. Like, hey, what are we doing today? And then they tell you, yeah, I came in for a $99 special. Big mistake. Of course, over the top flattery followed by immediate insecurity creation is the aggressive, unethical way. I would never recommend the things on the right hand side. There are only very few caveats, and even those, they're just like gray areas. I'll let you decide what you think about them. But the lazy way, again, you don't introduce yourself properly, you don't explain the role. What do I mean by that? It's not about your name, it's about building the authority. It's this is who we are, this is what we do, this is who we've done it for, and just like big up the spa. This is how many positive reviews we have you checked out Google, have you checked out Trustpilot, and this is what you're going to expect. My mission here, my job is to make you comfortable and to find out exactly how we can give you basically
the outcome that you've come here for. At this point, mind you, I'm not even saying I want to give you your confidence back, because I don't know that that's what they want, right? I can assume that that's what they want, but I have to hear it from them first. I've been doing this 15 years. Trust me, obviously very aggressive. Don't do it, especially if you're lying. Already looking at their phone or computer. This is basically going straight into your EMR and begin the charting before you've actually sat down and created that like connection. Whereas active listening, eye contact, taking notes, it goes a long way. It goes a long way at making people feel comfortable. Staring intensely, making client uncomfortable with overattention. I don't know, these things are so bad, I shouldn't even have to explain why you shouldn't be doing them. Assumes they know what the clients want. This happens all the time, where med spas talk over you and they don't let you basically speak your mind, and then you just fill in their own kind of agenda. Because I mean, you've heard it 100 times. It's tempting. It's tempting to just jump the gun and say everything that you already know. Don't. What brings you in? What results you hoping for? What's the challenge? Open-ended questions is how you open them up. By the way, if they're kind of like one-worded replies, go with close-ended questions. Have you done this? Have you done that? Yes, no type things, until you get them to sort of untangle their tongue and start talking, okay? Leading questions, you must hate those lines, right? Terrible. This is almost as bad as assuming you know what the client wants. Now on the discovery phase, the lazy, bad, ignorant way is not asking about the timeline, about the budget, or the decision-making process. On the strategical right way is obviously finding out what's the timeline, when they're looking to achieve, what's the range of budget, and who's involved in decisions. Whereas in the aggressive way is deliberately avoiding budget talks to anchor it high later down the line. To be clear, there is a thin line between these two, and I will not always advocate for discussing budget ranges at the beginning, because they're not there to shop around. You should be holding the line in terms of what your prices are and maintaining that premium quality of your med spa. But you should obviously be careful about anchoring high just for the sake of maximizing cash, okay? Misses the emotional why behind their visit. You'll never get to the emotional why if you don't find the root cause of what they're there for. So instead of asking, what are you looking to get? Oh, I just want to get rid of these crow's feet, okay? That's not enough. It's like why and why and why. You have to uncover the deeper motivations. There's a special event that's coming. There's a lack of confidence. I don't date as much as I should. I'm not getting married. I'm not getting attention from men like I used to. Those things matter, because that's how you address objections. Someone who agrees that they don't want to look old anymore. And funnily enough, when you look old, you also look tired, and you get passed over for opportunities at work, for promotions and whatnot. No one's going to object to not wanting to get and feel that anymore, okay? Exploit emotional vulnerabilities, such as your husband will notice. Again, pretty aggressive, pretty unethical. You could definitely get pushback and buyer's remorse on that, especially if you don't know how to do these things delicately. And hey, to be clear, if you ask the right questions and they get to these conclusions themselves, then there's nothing unethical about that. If someone says, hey, listen, I don't get swiped on dating platforms like I should be, like I want to be, there's nothing unethical about surfacing that out, right? It's their pain point. They've expressed it. No previous treatment history questions. This is overviewing their previous attempts. What have you tried? What worked? What hasn't? You need a thorough history of it. Why are you here? Because that's going to allow you to position what you're offering them today as the thing that's simultaneously validating why it's not their fault and why everything that they tried before didn't work. So if they've tried cool sculpting and they gained the fat back, or if they tried weight loss and they didn't do the right titration, or Botox with not enough dosage or not the right technique of application, then you can explain your mechanism as unique, as different, and something that reassures them that it wasn't their fault in the first place, and that this is not the same thing, okay? Diminishes the previous experiences to position as savior. I would never do that. I would never recommend throwing rocks at anyone or anything else, because that just denotes a personality trait. You don't want to be that kind of negative. Focus on the positives. Focus on how you're better, not on why the other ones were bad. Doesn't identify pain points or goals clearly. This is all tying in together, okay? So the way you would solve that is, so if I understand correctly, your main concerns are this and this and that, okay? So you basically overview and then you label and summarize what's been said. You have to do that to the deeper layers as well. Not just, I just want to get rid of wrinkles. I want to get rid of this. I want to regain this. I want to stop feeling like this, and I want to start feeling like that instead. And also, your best friends should be the "and what else" type question. Okay, cool. So crow's feet. What else? Maybe marionette lines. Okay, cool. What else? Saggy jowls, turkey neck. What else? Hyperpigmentation, discolorations. By the way, if you want to help yourself a lot with this discovery process, especially for the facial aesthetic side of things, just use an aura or Visio, something that's a skin analyzer. For body contouring, for weight loss, just use a DEXA scan, a Styku or anything like that. Create pain points that they didn't have, point out flaws they weren't concerned about. Again, this is a pretty gray area because I'm not saying that you should point out things in an aggressive, rude, insecurity-inducing way, but at the end of the day, ignorance is bliss. If people don't really know what they don't know, and you show it to them, especially with a 3D skin analyzer, then I don't think there's anything wrong to present them the options, to show them what they didn't know, and basically surface avenues for upsells, for problem resolution. Essentially, you're looking for a win-win, where there's something that they actually want to resolve. It's their choice. You present them with the option, you go forward with it. Talk with a client, doesn't listen, self-explanatory, don't do that. In fact, you should be most of the time just shutting up and listening. 70, even 80, even 90% listening, especially in the discovery phase. Ask a question, sit back and listen, and ask follow-up questions. In what way though? How so? And what else? Tell me more. And let them talk. Just let them talk. The biggest mistake is just going very like techno-babbly and explaining features and how the technology works. It's a bore. No one cares. No one understands it anyway. Don't do it. Dominate conversation. Doesn't let the client think. Of course, ends up backfiring. And so the education, the presentation, this is essentially the babble that I was mentioning just now, the jargon without the explanation. So if you present only one option, the one that they asked for, you're essentially not asking them if they want fries with a burger. Missed opportunity for a strategical upsell. Present tiered options, all aligned with their goals, and you basically give them an A-B close. Here's an option, here's another option, and obviously only presented the highest price option implies the others won't work. Again, it can work, especially if you're ethically discarding the options that simply won't qualify for them. Using jargon without explanation, no one understands it. You should speak to them like they're 5 years old. Educate in simple terms, use before and afters, explain why it works. Overwhelming technical jargon to confuse and create dependency. This is something, this is the reason why jargon was invented in the first place, to create a moat around the industry and basically make it less accessible. But it's pointless, it's unnecessary. In fact, the more you understand, a confused mind don't buy. Confused minds don't buy. So explain in simple terms and always ask questions like, are you with me? Make sense? Is that clear? What questions do you have about it? No visual aids, shame. You can absolutely use visual aids, especially the aura and the vision and the body scans that I mentioned. Diagrams, before and after photos, even of themselves. Unrealistic examples or photos from different procedures, obviously unethical, don't do it. Doesn't explain treatment process or what to expect. I think you should be careful about over-explaining, but you should definitely explain the expectations, setting the frame. This is what's happening today. This is how long it's going to take effect. This is how long it's going to last. This is what recovery looks like, because otherwise people are going to come out with unrealistic expectations. Buyer remorse is going to kick in. They'll charge back. They'll dispute. All kinds of things are going to fire back to you. Minimizes risk, overpromises results, rushes through important detail. Don't do it. Presents price immediately without building value. So this is essentially pitching without a tie down. How do you fix that? You build value first, you connect the treatment to their specific goal, then you do the pricing. So if you've done enough discovery, if you understand exactly what it is that they want, what they need, why they want it from an emotional standpoint, what else they want, by the time you pitch, you are basically connecting what you're offering with what they want. And so that's where you sell without objections. The aggressive way is to hide the price until they're committed and to use pressure tactics. Again, I think you should tie down in the way that before you drop a price, you should absolutely make sure that this is exactly what they want. If it's exactly what they want, then by the time they have to pay the price, it's merely a logistical question as to whether they can afford it or how they can afford it, and whether they need to involve anyone else in the decision-making process, such as a spouse, which sometimes you'll hear, I need to speak to my husband, and you should absolutely let them speak to their husband, or at least make sure that that is not a smokescreen. By the way, there is a video on that particular objection on the channel. And the reason why I'm saying that is because a lot of times the objection is actually something pointing to something earlier in the conversation, like, I'm not sure if this is going to work for me, or I actually don't have the money for it. And then they say it's the spouse that they need to speak to because they don't want to confront this personally. And if you address it in a nice, calm, kind way, in a roundabout way, such as, okay, totally fine, what do you think they're going to say? They're going to basically speak their mind, and then you can address that as well. Of course, the way to identify complementary treatment is to identify related concerns. Already mentioned it. Don't just stick to, tunnel vision, what they came in for alone. And to get the best results for your goal, many clients also benefit from X because Y. So again, you give a little presentation on other things that you think may be suitable, and you leave it to them to decide if they want them or not. Recommend maintenance plan and skincare to extend the results. Of course, you're going to extend the lifetime value of these customers, how much they actually spend with you on the day, but you also actually give them the results. There's no point sending someone home without a diet and nutrition plan and fitness maintenance regimen once you've done body contouring on them, if they're gonna end up, putting all that weight back. Or if you're doing laser hair removal and you have any sort of creams that they need to apply afterwards, just those are good opportunities to upsell or to bump rather a little kind of $20, $30, $50 treatment service. But you can also use them as additional bonuses, like one-time only offers when they buy a full package with you as well. Speaking of, present packages that save money and improve outcomes. 100%. There's always going to be an incentive for them to buy a package. But of course, you have to show the treatments, how they work synergistically for comprehensive results. So if you're doing a 3-in-1, if you're doing any sort of LED light treatment or red light therapy with their body contouring, or LED and dermaplaning with their skin rejuvenation, explain why they work together, and then they'll obviously be more likely to take you up on it.
How do you handle objections? Well, ideally, if you're doing everything right, you shouldn't get too many objections. But if you do get
anything around price objection, around needing to think about it, around speaking to a spouse about it, you want to address them proactively before the client voices them. Obviously, you never want to get defensive or aggressive about it. And obviously, you also don't want to dismiss them. That's not a real concern, because it may work if your frame is super strong, but you're definitely going to create remorse in that client. You want to ask the questions to understand the real objection, which is what specifically concerns you here. In what way, though? Those are like surface revealing revelatory questions, as opposed to just like taking a no for a no and just moving on. I need to think about it. Okay, no worries. You go and think about it. Call me when you're ready. Don't do that either. But also, this price expires today when it doesn't. Not really indicated. We utilize discounts in a scarce way, where we run a special for 12, 20 ladies, then maybe we put it up, maybe we take away some of the service, we take away some of the special that we may offer that day. There has to be a genuine reason why you're actually sunsetting the price. No price justification or value reinforcement. Of course, usually it's the difference between price and value. They might just not feel it. So how do you do it? You tie back to their goal, break down cost per treatment. This is something that Terry Ross does extremely well. I've spoken about her in a previous video, which is this a question of price, or is it that you just don't see the value? And if it's the value, then it's you told me that you wanted to achieve this and this and that. And this is an investment. And then basically that's when you reassure them that the price is going to get them to the result that they wanted. Of course, you can even put a guarantee in there. You can guarantee satisfaction. You can guarantee that if they don't get the results that they want with a number of units of talks, for example, they're going to get a retouch for free, which most med spas offer anyway, or you can give them additional aftercare. Essentially, you commit to getting them the outcome that they wanted and tie back the price as an investment to achieve the goal that they want to achieve.
Present financing. Of course, you should always have financing in-house. You should have package options. You have the ability to start with just one area, which is a downsell. And if you don't do that, you leave a ton of money on the table.
And ultimately, just don't take any of it personally. Don't show frustration. It's just not personal, and there are more yeses than no's than yeses, especially at the beginning. Stay professional, stay courteous, respect the process, stick to the process, to the script, and offer alternatives. And so when it comes to closing, summarize their goals and recommended plans, confirm alignment. Don't end with, do you want to book? Don't ask a yes and no question, because if you do that, you're opening yourself to no. Gets commitment, books appointment, takes deposit, schedule follow-ups. I'm going to focus more on this than on the left right hand side, although you can certainly pause the video and look at the sides as well. Creates legitimate urgency, upcoming events, seasonal promotion. This is basically what's called personal urgency. It's what they said is the reason why they want to deal with it now and not next year and not next week, so that they actually pull the trigger and take action on it this time, especially if you overview their previous attempts to solve the problem and they say that they've been struggling with the same thing for years, okay?
If they're not ready to book, you should offer clear next steps. You should offer a timeline for the decision.
You should put a follow-up in place. You should ideally try and lock it in with a deposit. You should get some form of commitment, because it is your responsibility to guide them and make sure that they're also not procrastinating on their goals. But of course, just be careful about the unethical, pushy ways. And again, I'll be the first to admit that some of these things actually work sometimes, but you have to be careful about when you do them and how you do them. So assuming the sale is actually a pretty good way to handle the upsell. Instead of asking, hey, do you want to go forward with this? It's, hey, how do you want to go forward with this? But you have to feel the client. So a lot of this comes with the context. The map comes with the territory. If you feel like you've got someone that's sold, someone that's convinced, that's not heavily hesitating, then assuming it is just greasing the wheels, just baby stepping the process. Whereas if it's a pushy tactic where you block the door, I mean, obviously, I hope you're not doing that. Never seen anyone do that. I hope it's not happening. You'll regret waiting. These things don't even work. They don't even work. So don't even think about trying them. Belittles hesitation, makes them feel stupid for not deciding immediately. Okay, so that's why I'm not going into that side too much, because it's pretty self-explanatory why you shouldn't do it. Follow-up, fortunes in the follow-up. Have follow-up that gives them educational content as well, especially around the objections, especially around their skepticism. So if you have someone that you feel has been a bit hesitant because they don't understand how it works, or because they're not sure that it would work for them, just make sure you send them case studies and success stories. Hey, we just had Linda come in and she did this, that. Of course, anonymize data so that you stay HIPAA compliant, but follow up and continue that conversation, especially if you have a time booked in the future to revisit with them. Reference specific conversation points in the follow-up, which is why discovery is so important. You want to be specific and provide value. Answer their questions, send relevant before and afters, maintain the relationship even if they don't book immediately. The lazy way of that is obviously to do everything generically, to not give them anything that's tailored to them, or to just outright not send them anything, right? And to forget about them after the initial consultation. And the aggressive one is obviously manipulative, harassing, contacting them for pressure sale, burning the bridge if they don't book, right? Alrighty. So why is this so important? I mean, I showed you the graphs at the beginning, but here's your numbers once again. You can literally jump from 10 to 20% conversion, or zero, God forbid, to 50 to 70%. And average ticket size can increase from a tiny little order bump to $300-500 to a 15 to 25, 35 even. With the aggressive one, yes, you can maximize it, but your retention suffers dramatically. Your retention, to be clear, should be 70 to 80%. Any lower than that, you're either too aggressive or just too lazy and unmotivated. The referral rate should be 40-50%. Each client, every other client should bring you another client, whereas this one is just going to build bad brand equity. It's just gonna, if you're getting more negative, well, not even more, but if you're getting negative reviews on a regular with Medspas, it's so important to maintain that 4.9, if not absolute perfect 5-star rating on Google, because you have a lot of Medspas in your area that are at that standard. And if there's so many of you in your catchment area, who do you think your prospect is going to go for? Someone who has a 4.7, 4.8 rating? Even that is enough to really make your business suffer. If your lifetime value is less than 15 grand, then they're kind of like one and done. If it's 4 to 8K and they charge back as well with high churn, reputational damage, and legal risks, of course, you got to dial that back as well. Sustainable, but again, in my experience, this is actually hardly ever the case. So I want to be more instrumental and intentional in moving you from not lazy, because I actually don't think anyone is inherently lazy. I think people just have blind spots and they don't know what they don't know. And just giving you the awareness of what good looks like and where you can actually improve should be enough to move you from this way to the strategical, ethical way. And I'm not really concerned about the aggressive one, because we've never worked with anyone that's risked being here. Most of the times it's kind of erring onto the other side. And so takeaways: lazy, bad way, leaving money on the table, treats consultations as order taking, not selling, misses obvious opportunities to serve clients better because they're just not curious and they're not asking the right questions or any questions.
Low conversions, low ticket, low retention.
Result is always struggling, always needing new clients. The numbers are not making sense. The unit economics break. Strategical, this is where the juice is. Recommends everything that generally serves the client's goals. Educates thoroughly, builds trust, presents options, high conversions, good retention, good average order value. The big metrics are lifetime value, average order value, and your cost of acquisition to your gross revenue generated from one client.
A sustainable business that ticks along nicely with a loyal client base, consistent referrals. So this is the gift
that keeps on giving. And then the aggressive, self-explanatory. It's predatory at worst, maximizes the increase of AOV, ends up in a lot of chargebacks, and a business that essentially just kind of implodes. So that's it. This is ultimately how you're going to sanity check and make sure that you're attracting the right way. Again, with 100 consultations, you could generate 60 clients, 2,500 average order value. Spoke to a med spa this week who was consistently order bumping to $400 or $500. That's how you know sales is a problem, not the marketing. If you have 100 consults and you can't get anyone to spend more than 1K with your brand, with your med spa, the problem is not the marketing, it's the sales, okay? Unless, of course, you're attracting generally bad leads, broke prospects that don't even qualify for payment plans. So I hope this is revelatory. I hope this is eye-opening. It's quite a bit to take in. Let me know if you want this document to stick it on your wall, to run it through your team, and basically train everyone who's doing consultations. And of course, if you want a trained second opinion on your process at the moment, if you want us to work directly with you and your other service providers to train and iron out all of these fine details in all of these key stages of the sales consultative prescriptive based consultation process, medspapatients.com. We're here for you. If not, we'll see you in the next video as always. Bye.